Hi everybody, Chris here from Truly Holistic. In this video, we're going to talk about the art of wanding. Okay, so of course that requires a subtle energy device we call a wand. At Truly Holistic, we have a range of wands and wand-like tools. A tool that I wouldn't say is a wand itself, but we use it very much like the wands in this art of wanding, and I'm going to show that. I'm going to demonstrate that to you in this video, and also going to talk about how they differ, the roles, the energetics that are used in those range of wands. Okay, so you can get a bit of an idea of what I would use that wand for. For example, if you've already purchased the wand or are interested in the product. So first of all, before we get into the art of wanding and how I demonstrate that and show you on the video, we're just going to talk about the wands that we do have. So the first wand, which comes in a large and a miniature or smaller version, is the Ascension wand. Okay. Now this is the small or miniature version of it. So the larger version is about double the size. Okay. And the size doesn't matter. It's the energetics that it facilitates that matter. So the larger wand or the smaller wand contain the same energetics, contain the same purposes and roles that you're going to use it for. Of course, just a smaller one can be just a bit more convenient to kind of put in your bag or your purse, or wear as even as a pendant around your neck, right? Or have in your pocket. But some people just like the feel of the bigger one, and quite often when we do have the bigger wand, sometimes the tensor rings that are a thicker gauge, for some people just feel that energy a bit more in the physical. So again, it's just dependent on the user of what they would like. So with the measurements, or what we call cubits, right? So if anybody doesn't know what cubits are, it's a term that's used in tensor technology where it's a specific or sacred measurement that becomes a physical anchor and bringing through either a static frequency or a bunch of frequencies or even a spectrum of frequencies. And for the one that we have here, the Ascension one, it brings through 3 qubits or 3 energetics, and they are not static frequencies. These actually bring 3 complete spectrum of frequencies, right? This is a very expansive tool. And it brings through the earth element, the air element, the water element, and it's made up of brass rod, a brass tube that goes over top of it, and an AccuVac coil, right, which is wire that is bent back on itself, put through a drill, twisted, then cut to a specific measurement, and then brazed together, right? So it's a wonderful product. The way that we use this particular wand, and in regards to wanding and how I'm going to show you in a minute, is to transmute energy from an undesirable or unbalanced state back into balance. Okay, and I'm going to demonstrate this on a pathology and anatomy chart, which is going to be an image of the muscles. Okay, let's do that now, actually. And so when I'm working on biomechanical stuff, and what I mean by biomechanical stuff, we do a session type here called spinal alignment posture correction service or session. And of course, a big part of that is working on the muscles, the connective tissue, right? So if somebody's having a lot of neck pain or back pain, quite often we'll see that, yes, the muscles are tight, they're tense. And why they're tight and tense is generally because the energy that resides, that is being expressed through that muscle, right, or in the way that it's perceived as the muscle, is congested, right? And that's why it is tight and tense. So when we take this wand and we wand the muscle, we bring flow back to that energy of that muscle, which will change the expression of the muscle. So no longer it being tight and tense, it will now relax. Okay. So, because the body is a form of discernment. The symptoms that we get through the body are there essentially to guide you to change it, to do something about it, right? And it's very beneficial in that way. Sometimes I think we lose sight of that, and after all, if we are dealing with health problems, a body that is not serving us as well day after day, week after week, and month, we can kind of, create a disconnect with our body, and we kind of curse our body for what it presents us, when really it's doing its job. It's expressing itself through symptom. It's just that a lot of the times as the human, we don't interpret and understand what it's trying to tell us. So what we do, right? So this is, as I say, a muscular chart system. And then you're going to get the wand, and this is this aspect of wanding, right? And you're going to go into that area. For me, I just start from the top and I allow my soul, my consciousness to guide, or my hand, my wrist's very limp, right? And it's going to guide that process to work on the area that needs to be worked on. Now, perhaps for you, you're learning, or you're not as intuitively connected to your soul consciousness or your guides. You might just, hey, I've got a sore neck. I'm going to start off, I know my neck's this area here, and I'm just going to direct the wand in that area, right? And the more you work with it, the more you establish a connection with it and a sensitivity to what it's presenting. Okay. Now, another thing about the wands is I've had some people buy the wands and they're really having trouble connecting with it, experiencing the energy through it. And what we've always found is the case is that person is getting the wand, but their intention through the use of the wand is coming from mind and thought and mentality. You've got to realize that these tools are consciousness tools. They are quantum tools. They are heart-based tools. They don't associate with the mind and thought. They associate with heart and feel, right? So a lot of the times when we get that person to get more into the heart, well, now all of a sudden I connect with it. I can feel what I'm doing. I get more of a sense of what I need to do with it. So, okay, so here we go. And I always say with any of the products that from Truly Holistic, whether it's the self-empowered healing systems or any of the tools, before you pick that tool up, you want to get into your heart. You want to make sure that you're out of your head and you drop into the heart and you extend that, you extend the will of the heart, which is through feel, into what you're going to do with that product. So here we go. So I'm just going to say, okay, what area do I need the wand on here for me at the moment, for Chris? Okay, so let's just see where it goes. And of course, it's working on the back of the head and the neck area. Now you'll see it rotating in a counterclockwise spin. Now I'm not telling it to do that. As I say, my hand's limp, my wrist's limp, and I'm just surrendering to my consciousness to guide what needs to be done. And it's making it rotate in a counterclockwise spin. Now, what it's doing, it's creating a spiral. It's creating a vortex. And what we'll come to find is the formal geometry of flow itself, right? Because we're trying to transmute this muscle into a more of a flowing state. The vortex is the formal geometry of flow itself. So you might want to impart that spin on it. If your soul consciousness doesn't, well, you don't need to do that. You can just direct it in that area. But this is how I generally do it. And we wander in that area, and we just keep doing it until, again, I'm guided to shift away from it. And we're doing that now. And now we're coming into between the shoulders. Now, where we started off at the base of the skull and the neck, and in here, this area is the trapezius muscle. Very important muscle, very common muscle we work on for a number of problems, especially when we're working on the biomechanical structure of the body. And why that is because the number one postural deficit is forehead posture and rounded shoulders, and which means when the head moves forward, instead of being over the spine, the amount of weight that then this muscle has to take on increases. It's more of a workload it's increasing, which then means it's always tight, it's always tense. And what happens is then the body readjusts over a period of time and realizing, hey, this area of my body can't take on any more workload. So other areas of the body have to work even more. And hence the lower back then gets overworked. And that's then when you start to see lower back problems start to happen. So we've learned a bit as we've gone along through the years in regards to this. So we're just going to wand in that area. And again, I'm feeling into it. It's like I'm extending my heart and my sense of feel into the page. I want to feel what's going on. I don't want to think. I want to feel into it. Because what we've come to find is feel's got no limitation or boundary connected to it. Thought has. What we see has greatly. We see not even close to 1% of reality. So, we want to use, an avenue or a pathway that paints the bigger picture to us, and feel does that. Okay, so it's saying it's all done. And sometimes it might go to the anterior side of the body, right? So if you're getting the reason you're wanting a wand and you want to do this wanding, so you might want to invest in a anatomy and pathology book, or you can just go into Google Images and just print some images like this, very similar to this. If a lot of your healing is not distance and the person's right in front of you, well, you don't need this. You just use the person's body. So many ways to kind of do that. So wonderful product. The Ascension one comes in a smaller size, which this is it. Also the largest size. You'll see that on my product store at trulyholistic.net/products/. Let's go to the next one. The next wand is called the Manifestation Wand, right? So it looks a bit different. Okay, and it's made up of not 3 components like this one, but 2. Right, so we've got 2 qubits or 2 2 qubits, right? So 2 forms of energetics. And again, where this one's got the earth, air, and water elements, this one's got the fire and ether elements, right? So we just go a little bit more expansive, okay? And because of that, because they're facilitating different energetics, it's got a different purpose, a different role, right? Where this one's more about shifting and transmuting. This one, yes, has a transmuting ability, but it's more about working on what we call unrenewable tissue. Okay. So what I mean by unrenewable tissue, that is things like calcification, scar tissue, adhesions, those sorts of things, right? And why we call it unrenewable tissue, because, according to science, approximately every 7 years, on a cellular level, our cells are being replaced, right? There's been a rejuvenation on a cellular level. Now, so which means that is renewable tissue. Now, whenever you've hurt something, you've got a scar on your body, you'll notice that doesn't renew, right? The tissue doesn't renew because it's a different form of tissue. It's scar tissue. Same thing with calcification, right? Where people start to get arthritis and they get, this tissue, which we call calcification, lodged in the joints, which then you lose your range of movement, mobility in your hands or in your shoulder joints or your knees. And the body doesn't know how to shift that tissue or what to do with it. When we use this one, it's supporting the body to shift unrenewable tissue into a renewable state so the body then knows what it can do with it. Okay, so that's where we use that particular tool, especially in relevance to a biomechanical way. Okay, right. So we could easily go again to here and look for unrenewable tissue, and of course it can't find anything there for me, but because I haven't got any of those problems that I mentioned before. But that's where you differ between the 2 wands in relevance to that. But there are many other ways of using those, right? Because these are the 3 first elements or components of your consciousness, right? And when we bring through or connect into more of our consciousness, which is facilitated through the heart, right, which we would refer to as your energy signature, your soul. So when the person that holds this tool, you facilitate your energy. It's not a universal energy outside of you. It's not my energy. So for example, if I hold this becomes a placeholder to facilitate more of my energy. But if I give that to another person, they're not taking on my energy. Now it becomes a facilitator, a focal point for their energy. Because another way we call someone's soul, which is your authenticity, your infinite self is it's your unique energy signature, right? You're unique at your core. It's funny, on the human level, on a collective level, we're always being made to conform, to become something, a lot of times, and take on things that we're not. And that's a big subject, a big priority in session work, because what we essentially do in session work at Truly Holistic is we remove what you're not and we facilitate then the doorway and the avenues that bring through what you are, right? Which is the difference between mind and heart. When we're up here, and generally humans are conditioned to use the mind and thought as its primary form of discernment, we end up taking on more stuff that's not ours through conformity, and we lose that connection to who we authentically are as consciousness, which is what you uniquely are. Okay. So the first doorway is to get to the heart and get the heart open, because we've been up here for so long, or in so many lifetimes there. And that's the earth element. The earth element is in this wand. Okay, so even just holding the wand, not actively wanding or doing anything, you're supporting your ability to get into the heart, right? And then the next step from that is to connect into more of your multi-reality self, right? Your soul is having experience in other realities and parallel universes, and that is the air element and the air elements within there. And then the origin, the source of all of that, before it's spliced into multitude of realities, is the water element, which we call source. So that's all within that. So, you can have a wand just for your ascension path, right? To align into your ascension, align into your growth as a consciousness, not just wanding. But of course, we're doing this video on wanding. I wanted to demonstrate that. Same with the manifestation wand. These are the most expansive energetics we know. The fire, and even more the ether element. Okay, and this is what feeds your consciousness. We quite often depict that in a map we call the ascension map, where your consciousness is depicted as a tree, and the celestial existent aspect, which is the fire and ether elements, is the soil that is feeding that tree, right? So, like, for example, the fire element, this is what you might be familiar with as a fever. When you have a fever, a lot of people, perceive, okay, I'm having a fever because I'm sick, right? I've got pathogens in my body, right? Microbes that the body's trying to fight. Well, what's actually happening with a fever? A fever, the body's intelligence, you as a soul, right? Because that's your innate intelligence, realizes that you are living out, you're providing a state to your body that's not your natural state, because you're up here, the heart's closed off, right? And what you do is you provide a state that promotes accumulation of body, and the body gets to such a cumulative state that your soul intervenes and tries to bring flow back to a congested state. And that flow is an influx of a huge amount of energy that comes all the way from the depths of the fire element. And that is what a fever is. It's a purging. It's about bringing flow back into the body. So a fever is not actually an aspect of sickness. It's a healing intervention. It's a healing phase. And when we look at fire, it's the ability of renewal, right? That whole aspect of the phoenix rising from the flames, right? Is a renewal, right? And what is it? What did I mention? This is tools about shifting unrenewable tissue back into a renewable state, right? So fire is renewable, ether, new beginnings. Where when we look at earth element, that's grounding, right? Because our original ground, our home, is our heart. That's how we got here as a soul. Air is self-awareness, right? To become aware of how we apply ourselves, because the mind takes us into so many rabbit holes all out here, and we lose sight of our own awareness, how we're using our own energy. And then water, it means flow, because water is the physical embodiment of flow, and the body thrives on flow, which means it thrives when we facilitate who we are here, because that's really the role of the body. The body is an interface to allow our soul, what we authentically are, to have an experience here and expand ourselves here. So you get all those qualities of those wands as well. So again, wanding with this one, very much the same as the Ascension wand. find the area that you want to wand. And it might not be to do with muscles. It might be to do with, for example, if you're having problem with digestion, right? You'll go to a chart that's the digestive system, right? And to bring flow, you know, and let's say you got both your wands there. Yeah, we'll start with the Ascension wand. And we'll go into here and you just have a look. Oh, I need to work on my liver a bit. It's a bit congested. So you get flow into that. And remember, you know, for example, a liver or gallbladder cleanse or detoxification, like a gallbladder, liver gallbladder flush. What is that? It's a cleanse, a detox. Now, every cleanse and detox, what it has in common is that it's promoting flow back to an area that was once congested. So through using these wands, that's what we're doing. But we're doing it in a more gentle way. Okay, you're cleansing because you're bringing that vortex, that flow back to that area. Now, a vortex keeps things clean and clear, very much like one of those bristle brushes, right? Where you go down a pipe and you spin it, right? Again, spin it, vortex, to get all that crud away, right? Get it clean and clear. That's what that vortex is so important about. And of course, once you've used the Ascension wand, you grab then the Manifestation wand. Again, it has a different role, and you scan through to just remove anything, because a lot of those things that are unrenewable tissues, such as adhesion, scar tissues, and calcification, they are quite often the very things that are obstructing flow. Are very much like a dam to the flow of a river, right? You want to break that wall, that dam, to bring flow back to that state of that area of the body, whether it's a organ in the digestive system or any other area of the body. So you can wand anywhere, right? Now, the last product I want to show you, which what I was mentioning at the start, it's not necessarily a wand, but you use it like you can use it in the process of wanding. And this is called the Intuitive Effect Ring. And this is it here, right? Right, so it actually combines tensor technology, because these are two tensor rings, and then we've got a copper plate, and we've got another technology we've created, which is using crystal powders, which is called light technology. And because, you know, tensor technology is, you know, we use a method of, you know, whether it's brass or copper, we use these qubits, right, as a physical anchor for those etheric energetics that come through. We found another way of doing that, where we anchor those etheric templates, which I have connection to, into crystal powders. And that's what we did with this product. So with this product here, you essentially get the energetics of both the wands. Okay. So in one of them, like for example on this one, you'll notice that the crystal powders are different, right, in each disc here, right? And they're just Velcro. You can just take them off or place them on. Now the green one here has the etheric energetics of this one here. The other one has the etheric energetics of the Manifestation wand, right? So the way that you would go about that in regards to wanding, let's say you wanted to just start with the energetics of the Ascension wand, you just take that one off, right? And then you just place it on like that, right? And then go here, and you just start off and you wand like that with your hand instead of pinpoint with the wand, and you just got that. Now, there's a lot of practitioners that do hands-on or Reiki, where, you know, their focal point of the energy they're placing into that field, or the person, is through the hands. This just amplifies that effect. So another reason why we made this product is because I wanted something to anchor in more of that person's energies into the focal point of the hand, so they could feel the energy. They could feel their energy more and how they apply it in a pathway of healing. All right. And this is what became the birthplace of the Intuitively Effect Ring. But, you know, some days I'm not using one, sometimes I'm using this, and you just wand the area. Okay, and this brings through more of your light, more of your consciousness, your expansion, and extends it through the hand, so you can then place that energy and have an effect as you wand. And, you know, and again, as I say, if you're working on people, right in front of you, right? So it's not distance, but these work distance healing as well. Then you just do it onto the person, right? Onto the area that you're working on. But all these tools work distance healing as well. And essentially, when you're wanding and you're doing it through distance, you're using this is a guide of the area that you're placing the energy into, but you're making that through your intention, attention, which is your creative process, right? How you give off that intention of what you want done. You're just going to use your attention to place on the person that you want to heal, right? And you can say their name through their intention as you're working on them. And these tools work distantly. You know, most 95% of my clients are all distant sessions. So, and we get great results just like someone's in front of me or next to me. So anyway, I hope you really enjoyed the video in regards to me sharing a bit of wisdom in regards to the process of wanding, but also the product range of the wands that really are associated with that practice of wanding. And you know, their roles, which they do have different roles because they have different energetics and just different, you know, things that, you know, if you don't like the wand approach and you want the more hands-on approach, but you want to amplify that effect, well, intuitive effect wand is the thing. Intuitive effect ring is the thing for you, and it facilitates the energetics that you get from two wands. But if you like the wand approach, then you can get the wand. And if it's a specific reason of what you want it for, then you can choose either one of what would serve you best. So they're all available on my product store at trulyholistic.net/products/. Go and check them out. If you've enjoyed the video, please like the video. Please consider subscribing to the channel if you already haven't, and push the notification bell to be notified when the next video drops. Until next time, catch you later.